Assalamu alaikum everyone. In this episode, I'll be interviewing Ali Manek. Ali Manek is Executive Director of the Canadian Muslim Vote, aimed to mobilize the community to be engaged politically. He's a teacher, an entrepreneur, and has run for office. He's passionate about humanitarianism, he's driven to make a difference. In 2005, Ali founded Our Village, an international disaster relief organization. Ali has traveled to over 50 countries to help build orphanages, schools, water wells, and other impactful projects, mashallah. He's also a very successful businessman. Inshallah, we will be speaking to Ali today to see how he's been able to balance his deen and dunya. Assalamu alaikum, brother Ali Manek. Thank you so much for making the time today from your busy schedule to be with us in this series. Really honored and it's my pleasure to have you. Now, Ali, I've got to know you quite recently and I'm very privileged I've had the honor. But for those of us watching in the audience, can you just give us a background about the great work that you're doing for the Muslim and the wider community and what your main focuses are at the moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been involved in humanitarian work since I was young. When I was in high school, I went on a trip to Costa Rica in university. I went and did a couple of other trips in Latin America, and eventually started my own organization, started doing work around the world, and I'll share more about that in a little while, but started doing work around the world to give back and just with the ideology that helping others is in fact helping yourself, both in this dunya and in the akhirah as well. And that was something that I really held true to my motivation of being involved in the humanitarian work that I was in. However, I also wanted to make sure that I studied and finished my education. I wound up finishing a degree at the University of Western, and then I continued my education. I became a high school teacher, which I believe to be another way of me giving back to the community and giving back to society, and helping to mold the future of our youth. So I did that for a few years, and then I went back to school again, did my MBA, and decided to try my hand at business. And alhamdulillah, I had a couple of successful, a couple of not successful businesses, in addition to a couple of successful businesses, but a very good learning opportunity for me as well. And then I transitioned into politics, going back to service and just believing that, I want to give back to the community, I want to serve, and I want to help build the capacity of our communities across Canada. So I got into politics, I ran for office, unsuccessfully, unfortunately. I lost by 80 votes in the end, and then I continued with the Canadian Muslim Vote, which is what I'm working on now, which again is an opportunity for us to educate and mobilize the Canadian Muslim community and move them in a direction so that we have a seat at the table regardless of who's in office, but the Muslim community is represented and we have a voice, and that's something that means a lot to me.
Alhamdulillah, and that's incredible to hear that, especially when you mention about failing in business, but that's, I guess sometimes we learn the most from our failures. That gives us springboard into doing, now you're looking to do even much bigger things for representing the Muslims Canada, so that's really interesting to hear.
Yeah. I tried not to take it too much to heart when I was, when I felt like there were so many roadblocks being created in front of me, and I've spoken to many people about it, and I said, listen, if I had a mentor at that time, I would have avoided that learning curve that caused me to go down a route that was wound up leading to the demise of a great idea that I thought was a great idea. A couple of times that happened to me, and then I also thought about the realization, and when you study entrepreneurship and you realize that most entrepreneurs have 9 failures before their success.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I only had 2.
A lot of people don't realize that.
Yeah, I only had 2. So I looked at that and I said, mashallah, you know what? I only have 2 failures on my record.
And a lot of them have been, correct me if I'm wrong here, I believe they've been bankrupt at some point. So a lot of them are dyslexic and all against the grain.
Yeah.
Some of the most successful entrepreneurs in the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's always challenges. Everybody has challenges. That's the other thing that I've learned, is that everybody has their own challenges. Yeah. Whether it's your mental health, whether it's your financial situation, whether it's issues with your own health, and your own development, like you had mentioned. Everybody has a story. Everybody has challenges. Everybody is you will always be able to find somebody who understands you exactly as you are, because they've either gone through it or they're going through it, or they can relate because of what they've gone through. But everybody at some point is feeling the same way that you may be feeling, whether you're up on top or if you've just hit rock bottom. And that's the reality of it.
That's very interesting. That segues nicely into, so at that point, how much of a role do you think Dean played in your life to bring you back up when you felt this is it, this is rock bottom?
You know, when we're out in society, and especially when I'm, representing a Muslim organization to non-Muslims, the question is often asked, like, what makes you religious? You were born into the religion. You didn't choose this. And I always say to them, I said, listen, to me, and everybody has their own interpretation, but to me, religion is figuring out the difference between right and wrong. That's it, right? And Shaitan creates the gray area between right and wrong. And our job in life is just to figure out, to decipher that gray area. And religion provides the rules. Islam provides the rules of what is what is right and what is wrong, and what is that gray area. And if you understand that and you accept that yes, that's what we're working on, is just seeking closeness to God at every stage, then you will continue to move in the direction. But I will say this, there's been times where my faith has been tested, and tremendously tested. And my advice to those who are listening, is that even if you feel robotic, even if you feel like you have no spirituality left, continue to do your prayers, because eventually it'll come back.
That's very that resonates with myself as well. I'm sure to a lot of the audience watching, mashallah. Ali, what would you say has been your biggest achievement to date? And I know you've had many achievements in your life, but what is the one that you're very passionate and very close to your heart?
That's a really good question. I think I look at some of the things that would be classified as achievements, and I look at them so critically, because I think I could have done better. I ran for office and lost by 80 votes, and many said that was an achievement for your first time. And obviously I say, I could have done better. We had a business, and we successfully built a business. And I always say, we could have done better. We could have had more, even with the Canadian Muslim vote right now. I keep thinking, if I had this, I could do more, I could do more. And that's dangerous. There does need to be a time for you to sit back and say, hey, you know what, you're doing all right. Pat yourself on the shoulder and say, you know what, you're doing okay. You've achieved something here, and you should be proud of that. Some people have a hard time doing that. I'm one of those people that has a hard time looking at anything and saying, well, this was great. So what I'll say is I think that where I get that from is those around me, my wife, my kids, my parents. And I think that I would say that if you were to ask my parents what they're most proud of, I think that it's the organized. Sorry, I'm getting a bit emotional. I think I
know your father has passed away recently, and so, it's something that's something that takes a long time to sink in.
I think if you were to ask my father, who did just pass away very recently, he would say that he was probably most proud of the fact that I sacrificed a lot of my own finances to contribute towards the humanitarian work that I was doing, because that's what he did. And
I'm sure you'll be extremely proud of that, and all your good deeds. This is the beauty of the deen, that only the good that you do, your father will be benefiting from that, because you're his legacy.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's an important thing as well, right? Like we don't realize that the impact that, yes, we're investing in ourselves in the dunya, we're investing in ourselves in the akhirah, but we're also, those actions that we are doing to honor those who raised us is benefiting them as well, and that's something that we have to
That's
have
the
to
beauty of
remember.
money. It's a win-win ROI in this life and the hereafter. MashaAllah, I'm sure you'll be super proud of you, and we will be benefiting from your good deeds. So I guess that probably has been, my next question was going to be, what has been your most difficult challenge and how did you overcome it? And I can even see now that going through losing one of your parents and at the same time having this pressure with the Canadian Muslim vote happening now, that has to be one of your greatest challenges, right?
15 days away from an election, yeah, it is a challenge, and I'll say that, alhamdulillah, there's been many challenges. I've been the one thing that I always believed is that Allah will test you with your finances, with your health, or with death, and I always ask, not death, the other two I can handle.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a challenge. We're gonna have to shoot some of this again, I think. But no, that's fine. Yes, definitely one of the biggest challenges is right now what's happening right now with the Canadian election and my personal life. But I'll also say that some of the toughest challenges that I've had were making big decisions. When we decided to move to Abu Dhabi and live in Abu Dhabi for a few years, which at the time was a 1 or 2 year plan, staying for 5 years, and then the decision to come back with no employment, not really sure of what I was going to do, but making those steps and saying, you know what, I want to be back home for to be close to my family, to be close to my father. Making those decisions was really tough, and then staying in roles where you believe, or you say to yourself, you know what, if I say this to all the humanitarians out there, like, yeah, you could be doing something else, and you could be making a lot more money than you're making right now, and you've got a family, and you've got kids, and you've got all of these things on your mind, and the reality is that you've made the decision to take a massive pay cut, to sacrifice that. I joke with my wife. I say, honey, stop giving sadaqah. My salary is my sadaqah. So, but it's such an important thing. And I have conversations with so many people, time and time again, who say, Ali, you should, charity starts at home and focus on that and build as much wealth as you can so that you can take care of your family. And then I speak to some other people and they tell me, Ali, I have everything. I have a great job. I make more money than a doctor. I'm so successful, but I don't have love in what I do. And the way that I gain that is I contribute. I donate. I make a lot of money, so I donate to the causes that I love, but I don't get to wake up in the morning and say to myself, I love what I do. And I love the impact that I'm making. I don't belong to a field that is impactful. It's a sacrifice both ways. So there's a sacrifice is going to take place, and it's just so important to realize that regardless of what the decision that you've made, that you are making a sacrifice in the name of Allah. You're making a sacrifice in the name of humanity, because it's an investment. It's an investment in yourself and an investment in your akhirah, inshallah.
Absolutely. We always say that the return on investment and that contentment you get, I guess, is priceless, right? Contentment when you're doing something that you feel that Allah will be pleased with, and you're doing it with immense sincerity.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you could go back to your former 16-year-old self, Ali, what would you advise him? So
I was thinking about this because I've heard so many answers from so many people. I'm sharing a room, so I've been eavesdropping into this particular answer, and unconventionally, what I would tell my 16-year-old self is slow down. You don't need to grow up so fast. You're only going to be 16 once. Enjoy it. Be in that moment and continue that, because when you're 20, you're only going to be 20 once. And when you're 30, you're only going to be 30 once. And remember that. Stay to your deen. Stay to your faith. But don't rush to grow up too quickly. Don't rush to say, I want X, Y, and Z by the time I'm here. No, don't. Because you plan and Allah plans. And regardless of what your plan is, my belief is that your risk has already been chosen for you.
Absolutely.
You seek it in a halal way, and it will come to you regardless of the route that you take. So don't rush. You're 16. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy society. Spend time with your friends. Build relationships with people. Do things that you enjoy, and that's, don't sacrifice those things because you're trying to get ahead, or you're trying to move forward, or you don't want to waste time. You're 16. Waste a bit of time. I feel like I look back and mashallah, when I was younger, when I was in my early 20s, so many people used to say to me, "Mashallah, you're so young and you've achieved so much, you've done so much, you've traveled so much, mashallah, but you're so young." And now I'm in my 30s, and now it's sort of like, oh yeah, you know what, you're kind of balanced out. What was the point of rushing? Right? What was the point? Right? Now everybody kind of balances out when you get into your 30s, and you have to. My 16-year-old self thought that, you know, this is great. I was 21 years old. I've traveled around the world. I've achieved so much, mashallah. And now I'm in my 30s, and I've still traveled the same amount as I did when I was 21.
Such an interesting point, that is such an everything balances out when you're in your 30s, and when you're younger, you want to be older, you want to get there, and then there's like a rush.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a race.
Yeah.
It's not a race, and you don't control anything. Right? You think you have control, you don't have any control. Allah has control over everything.
And that's a beautiful point you raise about this tawakkul, that we can plan our lives the way whatever we plan, but Allah's the best of planners, and dealing with that, I think that's where faith comes in, because a lot of bad things happen to good people, and good things happen to bad people, and vice versa, you know, so it can only make sense when we...
Exactly. And bad things happen to good people all the time. More. Look at the history of Islam. Look at the history of the Prophet. And all the prophets. Look at the history of the Imams. Look at the history of the Khalifas. What was their condition? These were the best of the best.
They were tested the most.
And they were tested the most. So if you think your test is tough, just reflect on that for a second.
Yeah,
so to get in touch with me, I'd love it if you if people followed me on Instagram. My Instagram is Ali Manek 14. It's at Ali Manek 14, and I'm secretly trying to become an influencer on Instagram by using my air fryer. Have you heard of an air fryer? It's this machine that can cook anything. And it's incredible.
I'm a huge fan of Shark Tank. Shark Tank.
Yeah.
I love these kind of products.
So we bought this air fryer a few years ago, and I've been making videos with my kids. It's such a simple machine. My kids are cooking, so they're making steaks, and they're making salmon, and they're making chicken, and they're making fries, and they're doing the whole thing. So it's my kids that are doing it, and I'm just coaching them through it. It's a lot of fun. That's one of our bonding things that we do with my children. So love it if you sign up for the Instagram page and left a couple comments.
What's the Instagram page again?
Ali Manek 14.
Ali Manek 14. Now I'm sure we will be following that, and look forward to connecting with you, supporting all the great work that you're doing. And honestly, it's been an absolute pleasure. And may Allah give you success in the votes coming ahead. And we would love for you to touch base with you again in the future and discuss how that journey came into becoming a reality.
Absolutely. Also, visit ourvillage.org. Contribute towards some of the stuff that we're working on a humanitarian level. We build wells across Africa. Every few months, I'm building another well. So put in a small donation or a monthly donation towards something like that, and inshallah, that's sadqa jariyah that will continue for many, many years after you've done it.
Absolutely. Ourvillage.com.
Ourvillage.org.
Ourvillage.org.
Yeah, ourvillage.org.
Look into that. Inshallah, I'll be on to. So definitely
awesome.
We'll look into that. Jazakallah khair so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.